Please listen to this experience of the judgment hall in heaven. Another chapter of Rick Joyner's book, The Final Quest. With each encounter, a veil is being removed, so that we can see Him more clearly. We are not changed just by seeing His glory, but by seeing it with an unveiled face. Everyone who comes to the true judgments of God walks a corridor such as this, to meet those who can help them remove whatever veils they are still wearing, veils that will distort their vision of Him. I had already absorbed more understanding than I felt like my many years of study on earth had given me. I then began to feel that all of my study and seeking on earth had only led me forward at a snail's pace. How could many lifetimes prepare me for the judgment? My life had already disqualified me more than all of those whom I had met, and they barely made it here. Then another man emerged from the ranks. He had been a contemporary of mine, and I did not know that he had died. I had never met him on earth, but he had a great ministry, which I respected very much. Through men that he had trained, thousands had been led to salvation, and many great churches had been raised up. He asked if he could just embrace me for a minute, and I agreed, feeling a bit awkward. When we embraced, I felt such love coming from him that a great pain that was deep within me stopped hurting. I had become so used to the pain that I did not even notice it until it stopped. After he released me, I told him that his embrace had healed me of something. His joy at this was profound. Then he began to tell me why he was in the lowest rank in heaven. The man. I became so arrogant near the end of my life that I could not imagine that the Lord would do anything of significance unless He did it through me. I began to touch the Lord's anointed and do His prophets harm. I was selfish and proud when the Lord used one of my own disciples. And I became jealous when the Lord moved through anyone who was outside of my own ministry. I would search for anything that was wrong with them which I could attack. I did not know that every time I did this, I only demoted myself further. Rick Joyner. I never knew that you had done anything like that. The man. I incited men under me to investigate others and do my dirty work. I had them scour the earth to find any error or sin in the life of others to expose them. I became the worst thing that a man can become on the earth. A stumbling block who produced other stumbling blocks. We sowed fear and division throughout the church in the name of protecting the truth. In my self-righteousness, I was headed for perdition. In His great mercy, the Lord allowed me to be struck by a disease that would bring about a slow and humiliating death. Just before I died, I came to my senses and repented. I'm just thankful to be here at all. I may be one of the least of His here, but it is much more than I deserve. I just could not leave this room until I had a chance to apologize to those of you that I so wronged. Rick Joyner, but you never wronged me. The man. Oh, but I did indeed. Many of the attacks that came against you were from those whom I had agitated and encouraged in their assaults on others. Even though I may not have personally carried the attacks out, the Lord holds me as responsible as those who did. Rick Joyner: I see. Certainly, I forgive you. I was already beginning to remember how I had done this same thing, even if on a smaller scale. I recalled how I had allowed disgruntled former members of a church to spread their poison about that church without stopping them. I knew that by just allowing them to do this without correcting them, I had encouraged them to continue. I remember thinking that this was justified because of the errors of that church. I then began to remember how I had even repeated many of their stories, justifying it by saying it was only to enlist prayer. Soon, a great flood of other such incidents began to arise in my heart. Again, I was starting to be overwhelmed by the evil and darkness of my own soul. I too have been a stumbling block, I wailed, dropping again to my knees. I knew that I deserved death, that I deserved the worst kind of hell. I had never seen such ruthlessness and cruelty as I was now seeing in my own heart. The man. And we always comforted ourselves by actually thinking that we were doing God a favor when we attacked his own children, came the understanding voice of this man. It is good for you to see this here, because you can go back. Please, warn my disciples of their impending doom if they do not repent. Many of them are called to be kings here, but if they do not repent, they will face the worst judgment of all, that of the stumbling blocks. My humbling disease was a grace from God. When I stood before the throne, I asked the Lord to send such grace to my disciples. I cannot cross back over to them, but he has allowed me this time with you. Please forgive and release those who have attacked you. They really do not understand that they are doing the work of the accuser.